The new UFC Apex building got
the 47th UFC event at the UFC Apex.
That is now the new arena and home for the Contender Series and any other live events that we want to put on.
Can we talk about why the UFC is still stuck on the Apex? Like, seriously, bro, it's been years. We've been saying for years now that these cars are dry, no energy, and honestly just boring to watch. Why are we still doing this in 2025? So initially, we all know why the UFC started the Apex. You know, social distancing, no fans, right next to the PI in Las Vegas, etc., etc. Makes sense for 2020, you know? For 2021 also makes sense. 2022 also makes sense. Maybe even 2023. But 2025? And the fact is, we're halfway through 2025. And we also have a UFC Apex card this Saturday, which is insane. The thing is, the Apex is super convenient for the UFC. It's deadass like Dana hosting fights in his backyard. They don't gotta travel, don't gotta rent big arenas, no crazy logistics. It's just cheap and easy, and they still get paid the same amount from ESPN regardless. From a business angle, I get it. But as a fan, this shit is actually horrible. Bro, you could deadass go on Twitter and see people's reactions when UFC announces fights in the Apex, especially bangers. And those people aren't wrong, but don't get me wrong though. You can have bangers in the Apex, but it just hits different with a crowd every single time. Like, compare Uriah Faber knocking out Ricky Simone to Derek Lewis knocking out Curtis Blades. There is a huge difference. Look, the UFC isn't dumb. They know we all hate the Apex cards, but as long as they're saving money and ESPN cuts those checks, I think we're cooked. I heard the UFC is in talks with Netflix for a contract or something like that, and if I was the Netflix CEO, I would have immediately told Dana that the Apex is not included in this contract. Here's the thing though, to be honest, me personally, I could tolerate the Apex once in a while. Like, a good idea is maybe once every other month the UFC hosts an event at the Apex. I would have no problem with that. Or just strictly use it for the Contender Series. No problem with that. But every single weekend almost, to be honest, I'd rather have the UFC stack up cards and not have them as often than an Apex event almost every single week. Like, let's look at the card this week. After viewing the card, I could deadass only talk about these two fights. So first up, we got Erin Blanchfield versus Macy Barber. Surprisingly, I don't see this fight going to decision. I'm sorry guys, I do not know why I said that. I'm actually sorry. But yeah, this fight is a prime example of a fight that belongs in the Apex. But realistically, I'm leaning towards Blanchfield. You know, she's been in there with better competition, and I believe she has more tools to get the job done. Like, Blanchfield got a win over Thug Rose. I don't know if that really means anything in 2025, but it counts for something. She also has a win over Jessica Andrade via outfit issues. Like, I'm just trolling. But that's what Andrade said caused her to lose. Nah, I didn't say that. And she also has a win over the great, undisputed, undefeated champion, Molly the Meatball McCann. But in all seriousness though, she's pretty good and she racked up some big names on her resume. While on the other hand, Macy Barber might just be taking a big jump in competition, but it's deserved after going on a 6-fight win streak. But I'm going to be taking Erin Blanchfield. And then we got Matthias Gamrot and Klein. Now, I'm very familiar with Gamrot, but Klein, I think I've seen him fight here and there, but I'm not 100% confident. Klein is on a 7-fight win streak with wins over Ignacio Bahamundes and Thiago Moises, but those are truly the best names he's beat. But Gamrot, on the other hand, has been there with Dan Hooker, RDA, Fiziev, Benil Dariush, Arman Sarukian. So it's clearly a no-brainer that I'll be going with Gamrot. I know we got a little sidetracked, but let's get back to the main point. Another thing that I wanted to mention is how the Apex isn't just boring, but might actually be hurting the UFC in the long run. Why, you may ask? Because the less people that are tuning in means lesser new fans. Like, think to yourself, have you ever seen a casual fan watch an Apex card in 2025? Or even 2024? Also, think about it. A fight night in an arena creates buzz in a city. There's definitely going to be people in the arena that never watched an MMA fight in their lives. And they're going to be leaving the arena being a fan. But an empty arena though? New fans won't watch that and casual fans won't even talk about it, which means the exposure is less, and over time, that hurts the brand. The UFC might just be too focused on cost cutting right now and not think about the bigger picture, which is keeping the sport hot, relevant, and growing. Now you're probably like, okay, we get it. The Apex is ass. What could they do to fix it? I say first off, the UFC should just hit smaller markets. You don't need a 20,000 seat arena every single time. You could literally run a fight night in a 5,000 seat arena that just never gets events. They can literally have an event in the middle of Wyoming or even go to a random city internationally. Or at the very least, give the fans something to care about. Even if you're going to do the Apex cards, at least promote the fights better. Half the time, us diehard fans don't even care about any of the fights. Like, I remember when I was in the honeymoon stage with the UFC, I would literally watch every event regardless, Apex or not. Now, I literally just check out the card, and if it's okay, maybe I'll watch 1 to 2 fights and just call it a day. Bottom line though, the Apex isn't just boring, but it's holding the UFC back from growing, reaching new fans, and just giving fighters the moments they actually deserve. That's enough yapping from me, but I just want to know, what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one.